The Argentine activist and Nobel Peace Prize winner Adolfo Perez Esquivel warned of maneuvers that could lead to an electoral coup in Honduras. The World Health Organization announced that its workforce will shrink by nearly a quarter, representing over 2,000 jobs by mid-next year. And in Palestine, thousands of children in Gaza face the risk of severe illness and even death due to the harsh conditions of the winter season. Hello, welcome from the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. Argentine activist and Nobel Peace Prize winner Adolfo Perez Esquivel warned of maneuvers that could lead to an electoral coup in Honduras. In a letter addressed to former President Manuel Zelaya, he stated that he had received information about alleged actions within the National Electoral Council aimed at altering or invalidating results. This information claims that the actors involved would seek to disregard a potential victory by candidate Cris Moncada. In this regard, the international figure denounced the involvement of opposition sectors and hegemonic media and emphasized that the international community will remain vigilant during the Honduran electoral process. And Honduras records a drastic reduction in poverty, announced the National Institute of Statistics this Tuesday in Tegucigalpa. The director of the organization, Jose Eugenio Sosa, explained that comprehensive report that reflects the sustained decrease in poverty and unemployment in the Central American nation over the past 5 years. According to the Permanent Household Survey 2025, overall poverty fell by 73.6%, while extreme poverty decreased from 53.7% to 38.3%. Additionally, the study shows that the population above the poverty line has increased, reflecting a significant improvement in living conditions. The study also confirms that the workforce now totals 4.2 million people and the unemployment rate has dropped to 4.9%. In Paraguay, the defeat of the conservative Colorado Party in the municipal elections in Ciudad del Este has redrawn the political map. Analysts are predicting the end of the Colorado Party's hegemony. Let's take a closer look in the following work by our colleague Osvaldo Sayas.
The mayor of Ciudad del Este, Miguel Prieto, had been removed from office after being persecuted and set up, which led to early municipal elections in the capital of the department of Alto Perón. There, the Colorado Party suffered its worst defeat in history, with a difference of 40%.
The victory in these municipal elections in Ciudad del Este, the second most important city in the country, by an opposition candidate who had been brutally removed from office by the courts and who managed to prevail, defeating the Colorado candidates, breathed new life into the Paraguayan opposition.
Insufló nuevos aires a la oposición paraguaya.
The
Colorado Party sustained the longest military dictatorship in South America and has governed Paraguay for more than 70 years. After the last general elections, it moved forward with a process of concentrating power and abusing institutions without any strong opposition.
The strong impression is that Hugo Cartes has preeminence over the government, over the Colorado Party. Was dissolved without fanfare, and the clearest proof of this is that Cartes and no one else spoke there, apart from blaming each other for the defeat.
What began as a political persecution against an opposition mayor ended up positioning Miguel Prieto as an emerging figure who is heading straight for a presidential candidacy.
But he did a very good job in Ciudad del Este. I usually go there to teach and give lectures. They have electric buses, which Asuncion will never have. It's not that it will have them later, it won't have them at all. Asuncion can't even have a metrobus system. The city is clean.
For
political analysts, Miguel Prieto is a leader without a clear ideological definition, but with positions that place him in favor of the excluded majorities, the popular classes. In addition, he has a great ability to work with opposition groups.
Yo creo que ellos entendieron que en un país con una matriz
I believe that they understood that, in a country with such a traditional, conservative ideological background as Paraguay, it is not such a good idea to hang up a sign that says I am left-wing.
con un cartel que diga soy de izquierda, ¿verdad? Pero yo creo que muchos de sus acciones y pensamientos
But I believe that many of his actions and thoughts correspond to progressive policies that are close to the people. I believe he is basically a pragmatist.
creo que es básicamente un pragmático.
A un año de las elecciones municipales y a
With
poco
1 year
más
to
de
go before the municipal elections and just over 2 years before the general elections, the sectors that govern Paraguay in favor of only a privileged minority see their continuity in political power threatened by the emergence of new winds of change.
Osvaldo Sayas, Telesur, Asunción, Paraguay.
In El Salvador, the first court of instruction in San Miguel has reactivated the criminal proceedings against our former soldiers accused of their involvement in the death squads during the armed conflict. The accused are José de la Cruz Orellana and Ángel Alvarado Benítez, currently detained, as well as José Inés Benavides Martinez and Luis Alfonso Benavides, who remain under process with substitute measures. The prosecution links them to the kidnapping, torture, and murder of 5 residents of the San Andrés Canton in the center of the country in April 1981. The victims, Ángel Chávez, María Aguilar, José Benavides, Guillermo Magallana, and Rogelio de la Cruz, were taken from their homes and later executed. It is important to note that this trial was scheduled for 2023 and has been postponed 4 times. We now have our first break coming up. Remember, you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. We're going to be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back. Churches in Venezuela and the United States joined together in prayer for peace. Binational Prayer for Peace event was held at the Miraflores Palace, attended by President Nicolás Maduro, who emphasized the spiritual unity of Christian churches. During the event, the head of state greeted the evangelical congregations and their pastors, highlighting the role of churches as a source of strength for the nation. In this regard, the president recalled a letter sent by a U.S. pastor who expressed support for joint prayers and concern about threats issued by the U.S. government. President Maduro emphasized that the purpose of the meeting is to reaffirm values of truth and life, as well as to strengthen the unity of the peoples around faith.
The evangelical and Christian churches are my refuge and strength in this time of tribulation for the nation. I called on them and they came to me. They called me and I have always been with you. We are more united than ever today, and I thank you, pastors, people of God and of Christ, for your spiritual support. It is the greatest of all. The spiritual power is the greatest power we can have. There is no other power that can do everything like spiritual power, which is the power of God.
And the Coordinating Bureau of the Non-Aligned Movement, through a communique, raised alarm over dangerous military escalation unfolding in the Caribbean and against Venezuela. The communique refers to the Coordinating Bureau of the Non-Aligned Movement, while reaffirming the content of its communique of September 19, 2025, and the Special Declaration of October 16, 2025, expresses its deep concern at the continued escalation of tensions in the Caribbean region. In light of an increased military buildup of extra-regional forces in the region that now includes, on top of assets with nuclear capability, the presence of the world's largest aircraft carrier with the USS Gerald Ford. The statement also reiterates the Coordinating Bureau of the Non-Aligned Movement calls upon extra-regional powers to exercise maximum restraint, to avoid provocative statements as well as aggressive and inflammatory rhetoric, and to both cease any further hostile actions and desist once and for all from their irresponsible and reckless conduct, including the conduction of airstrikes against small fishermen boats in the Caribbean and now also the Pacific, and instead to resort to dialogue, diplomacy, and multilateral mechanisms as the only sustainable path for addressing through peaceful means and cooperation any issue of common interest or concern. And on Tuesday, a judge in Mexico City brought charges against 3 people arrested during the November 15th protest organized mainly by young people from the so-called Generation Z protest movement. The defendants, identified as Daniel, José Luis, and Enrique, will remain free during their trial, although they must report to sign-in every 15 days as a precautionary measure. Likewise, 5 other detainees will remain in preventive detention while their legal situation is being determined, after requesting an extension of the deadline to review their cases. According to the authorities, those involved could face sentences of between 4 and 16 years in prison if they are found guilty of the crimes of robbery, assault, and attempted murder. And hundreds of protesters gathered in downtown Raleigh, North Carolina, to demonstrate against federal immigration enforcement action in Charlotte and Raleigh. The protest denounces the expansion of the Immigration and Customs Enforcement campaign of repression in the state and the increase in racist and segregationist rhetoric by President Donald Trump. According to Mayor Janet Cowell, no information has been provided about the scope of the operation, when it will take place, or the number of agents involved, as immigration authorities have not said anything about the raid. Federal officials have stated that the crackdown is aimed at curbing dangerous elements and reducing crime, although leaders in Raleigh and Charlotte have reported a decline in crime without federal intervention.
Workers, stand up and strike! Workers, stand up and strike!
And U.S. President Donald Trump authorized the sale of F-35 fighter jets to Saudi Arabia during the meeting at the White House with Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. The agreement also includes the purchase of nearly 300 tanks and the signing of a strategic defense pact to strengthen military cooperation between the two countries. During the meeting, Prince bin Salman announced that Saudi Arabia plans to increase its investments in the United States to nearly $1 trillion, especially in technology and artificial intelligence. For his part, President Trump reiterated his interest in having Saudi Arabia join the Abraham Accords. However, Riyadh has insisted that it would not do so without real progress toward the creation of a Palestinian state. The World Health Organization has announced that its workforce will shrink by nearly a quarter, representing over 2,000 jobs by mid-next year. The organization is implementing reforms after the largest donor, the United States, announced its departure with the arrival of Donald Trump. It is important to highlight that Washington is by far the WHO's biggest financial supporter, contributing about 18% of its total funding. The WHO projects that its workforce will decrease by 2,371 positions by June 2026, down from 9,401 in January 2025, due to job cuts as well as retirements and voluntary departures. While the Global Health Agency stated in August that hundreds of staff had left, this is the first time it has provided the full scale of the expected changes to its global workforce. We now have our second break coming up. Before we invite you to visit our Facebook page at teleSUR English, there you'll be able to watch our top stories, special live coverage, and much more. Follow our page and activate the notification button to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. A final break, and go away. Welcome back. In Palestine, thousands of children in Gaza face the risk of severe illness and even death due to the harsh conditions of the winter season. Ahmad Al-Endawi, regional director of the organization Save the Children, reported that this Wednesday several families woke up submerged in wastewater after recent rains flooded deteriorated tents. Over the weekend, more than 13,000 homes were affected, with an estimated 700,000 children living in those households. In this regard, authorities pointed out that the rainwater and wastewater mixed due to the collapse of the sanitation system. On the other hand, the director of the organization reminded that in the last 2 winters, 14 children died from hypothermia and warned that this tragedy cannot be allowed to happen again. An Israeli bombing of a Palestinian refugee camp in the Lebanese city of Sidon leaves at least 13 dead and dozens injured. The information was provided by the Lebanese Ministry of Health, which said the number of dead could still increase. According to local reports, the bombing targeted a parking lot inside the Ain al-Hilwi refugee camp in the city of Sidon. This incident is part of the almost daily exchange of fire on the Lebanese-Israeli border as Israel's attacks have intensified, reaching densely populated areas far from the border. And in South Africa, volunteers from the environmental group Alexandra Water Warriors dive into the polluted Juskei River to clean it up as part of their fight against plastic contamination. The group was created out of a need in the community, as when the river rose, it carried rubbish and sediment, causing damage to the city of Alexandra and preventing children from getting to school and townsfolk from continuing with their basic tasks. Since their formation in 2021, the group has advocated for the ability of anyone to care for the environment without the mediation of NGOs and leaders, being themselves a resident-led group born out of a shared desire to make the municipality cleaner and safer. And China is advancing its strategy to reduce emissions and strengthen sustainability in its energy production, after reaching a key milestone in a carbon capture, utilization and storage project in Xinjiang, in the northwest of the country. A correspondent from Beijing, Bruno Falsi, has details.
Hello, companions of teleSUR and the audience following us in this transmission. I am here in the Chinese capital to report this time that a strategic facility in Xinjiang, located in the city of Karamai, has injected more than 2 million metric tons of carbon dioxide underground, making a significant step forward in the country's effort to reduce its industrial emission and meet its international climate commitments. The project captures greenhouse gas from coal-fired power plants and chemical plants, storing it permanently in the region's oil fields. This initiative not only reduces the environmental footprint of oil production, but also improves crude oil recovery in mature fields, demonstrating how technology can combine energy efficiency and sustainability. The success of this facility has spurred the expansion of similar projects in Jungar Basin, with the goal of consolidating large-scale energy hub. These efforts align with China's commitment to reduce its carbon emission and move forward carbon neutrality by 2060. Reinforcing the transition to cleaner and more sustainable energy practice. With this news here in Beijing, we go back with you in the studios in La Habana, Cuba.
And the diplomatic dispute between China and Japan has escalated, originating from statements by Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi on potential military support for Taiwan. Beijing has once again banned imports of certain Japanese products. On Wednesday, Lin Jian, spokesperson for the Chinese Foreign Ministry, confirmed that Tokyo must withdraw its erroneous statements about Taiwan and warned that if it fails to do so, Beijing will take strict countermeasures. In fact, 1 week after the threat made by the Prime Minister that she would respond militarily against China in defense of Taiwan, Beijing has decided to suspend imports of Japanese seafood. China claims the need to continue monitoring the water released into the ocean, but that restrictions had already been overcome. In China, the city of Guangzhou blends technology and tradition in its 2025 International Light Festival, one of the most important light spectacles in the world. Let's see.
Las noches de Guangzhou se visten de gala con el
The Knights of Guangzhou are dressed in elegance with the International Light Festival. This event, considered one of the most important of its kind in the world, transforms urban architecture into a canvas of dynamic art. More than 36 artistic installations illuminate iconic landmarks, using light to tell stories and highlight local culture. This year, the central figure capturing all the attention is the imposing W.H.O fish, a symbol that connects the festival with another major national event.
Con otro gran evento nacional.
El Festival de la Luz de este año.
This year's Light Festival incorporates rich cultural elements from the Greater Bay Area of Guangdong, Hong Kong, Macau. For example, among the most notable elements is the iconic Bayou fish from the 15th National Games, the symbol of the event, mascots, traditional pavilions, banana leaves, and much more, allowing visitors to enjoy the dazzling lights while reliving wonderful memorable moments from the opening ceremony of the National Games.
La ceremonia de apertura de los Juegos Nacionales.
Esta imponente criatura de 27 metros de largo.
This imposing creature, 27 meters long and 7 meters high, became the star of the opening ceremony of the 15th National Games. Its graceful movement and ethereal design captivated the audience immediately, becoming a viral phenomenon on the country's social media. With its dragon head and fish body, the W.H.O is more than just a piece of art. It is a powerful symbol of traditional Chinese culture, representing perseverance, transformation, and the achievement of greatness through effort.
Y el alcance de la grandeza a través del esfuerzo.
El diseño de este pez aoyu difiere. The design of this Aoyu fish slightly differs from its traditional counterparts. While the dragon head and fish body are retained, we have made a special modification to the tail, incorporating the large tail of the phoenix carp. The fins and body are inspired by the arowana fish to achieve a more attractive appearance with a more vibrant Lingnan color, taking the rich coloration of the Lingnan shoal to the extreme. La rica colaboración del cardumen Lingnan.
El Festival Internacional de Luces.
The International Light Festival is not an isolated event. It works in conjunction with the National Games and the Garden Expo to project a unified image of the cultural vitality and development of the region. In this way, just as the W.H.O fish symbolizes individual transformation, these events showcase the metamorphosis of Guangzhou as a global center of innovation and tradition.
Like this, we have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. So join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.